Welcome back to the Masked Reader. We have some furry friends who are ready to share their stories with you today. I'm squealing with excitement over this competition.
When I was in school, my favorite class to go to was definitely art because I love creating things. My favorite picture book as a kid was Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown. And I chose to be a pig for my mystery animal because pink is my most favorite color in the whole world. The Three Little Pigs by Paul Galdone. Once upon a time, there was an old sow with three little pigs. She had no money to keep them, so she sent them off to seek their fortune. The first little pig met a man with a bundle of straw and said to him, "Please, man, give me that straw to build me a house." So the man did, and the little pig built his house with it. Along came a wolf. He knocked at the door and said, little pig, let me come in." "No, no," said the little pig, "not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said the wolf. So the wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew the house in, and he ate up the first little pig. The second little pig met a man with a bundle of sticks and said, "Please, man, give me those sticks to build me a house." So the man did, and the little pig built his house with them. Then along came the wolf and said, little pig, let me come in." "No, no, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said the wolf. So he huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed, and at last he blew the house in, and he ate up the second little pig. The third little pig met a man with a load of bricks and said, "Please, man, give me those bricks to build me a house." So the man did, and the little pig built his house with them. Soon the same wolf came along and said, little pig, let me come in." "No, no, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said the wolf. Well, he huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed, but he could not blow the house in. At last the wolf stopped huffing and puffing and said, "Little pig, I know where there is a nice field of turnips." "Where?" said the little pig. "On Mr. Smith's farm," said the wolf. "I will come for you tomorrow morning. We will go together and get some turnips for dinner." "Very well," said the little pig. "What time will you come?" "Oh, at 6 o'clock," said the wolf. Well, the little pig got up at 5. He went to Mr. Smith's farm and got the turnips before the wolf came to his house. "Little pig, are you ready?" asked the wolf. The little pig said, "Ready. I have been and come back again, and I got a nice pot full of turnips for my dinner." The wolf was very angry, but then he thought of another way to get the little pig, so he said, "Little pig, I know where there is a nice apple tree." "Where?" said the pig. "Down at Merry Garden," replied the wolf. "I will come for you at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we will get some apples." Well, The little pig got up the next morning at 4 o'clock and went off for the apples. He wanted to get back home before the wolf came, but it was a long way to Merry Garden, and then he had to climb the tree. Just as he was climbing back down with his basket full of apples, he saw the wolf coming. "Little pig," said the wolf, "you got here before me. Are the apples nice?" "Yes, very," said the little pig. "I will throw one down to you." And he threw the apple as far as he could throw. While the wolf ran to pick it up, the little pig jumped down and ran home. The next day, the wolf came again and said to the little pig, "Little pig, there is a fair at Shanklin this afternoon. Would you like to go?" "Oh, yes," said the little pig. "When will you come to get me?" "At 3," said the wolf. Well, the little pig went off at 2 o'clock and bought a butter churn at the fair. He was going home with it when he saw the wolf coming. The little pig jumped into the butter churn to hide. The churn fell over and rolled down the hill with the little pig in it. This frightened the wolf so much that he turned around and ran home. Later, the wolf went to the little pig's house and told him what had happened. "A great round thing came rolling down the hill right at me," the wolf said. "Ha, I frightened you then," said the little pig. "I went to the fair and bought a butter churn. When I saw you, I got into it and rolled down the hill." The wolf was very angry indeed. "I'm going to climb down your chimney and eat you up," he said. When the little pig heard the wolf on the roof, he hung a pot full of water in the fireplace. Then he built a blazing fire. Just as the wolf was coming down the chimney, the little pig took the cover off the pot and in fell the wolf. The little pig quickly put on the cover again, boiled up the wolf, and ate him for supper. And the little pig lived happily ever after.
Hey everybody, Happy Hamster here. Just want to let you guys know a few things about me. First of all, my favorite subject in school is reading, because if you had a book, you could be anywhere you wanted to be. My favorite books in school were actually the Mouse and the Motorcycle series, and I chose a hamster, usually because I'm running around like one. Hey everyone, Hamster here. Being the smallest creature in the competition, I have to be friendly with everybody. I know the pig's on here telling you his story, but I've also seen some things too, and I want to tell you what the wolf had to say. He wrote his own story, the true story of the three little pigs, by a wolf. Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves just eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing was all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in a once upon a time, I was making a cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home with the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake, and that's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pig pile was a straw, was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He'd been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there like in the straw, so I ate it up. Just think of it as a big cheeseburger lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He'd built his house out of sticks. I rang that bell on the stick house, and nobody answered. I called Mr. Pig. Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled, Go away, Wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now, food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and the second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house, no answer. I called Mr. Pig. Mr. Pig, are you in? And you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again. Talk about impolite. Probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, And your old granny can sit on a pin. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down this little pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing, making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting, so they jazzed up the story with all that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. That's the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar? So there's always two sides. Don't forget. Vote for Happy Hamster.
Hi, boys and girls. Well, my favorite subject in school when I was younger was writing. I would take all of my ideas in my head, whether they were funny, spooky, and I would write them down. I also loved reading other people's writing. My favorite book to read when I was younger was Bread and Honey by Frank Ash. He had some really funny ideas and funny characters in his book. Well, I chose a dog to be my character for this read along because dogs are your best friends. And I'll be your best friend if you vote for me. Harry the Dirty Dog. The author is Jean Zion and the illustrator is Margaret Graham. Harry the Dirty Dog. Harry was a white dog with black spots who liked everything except getting a bath. So one day, when he heard the water running in the tub, he took the scrubbing brush and buried it in the backyard. Then he ran away from home. He played where they were fixing the street and got very dirty. He played at the railroad and got even dirtier. He played tag with all the other dogs and became dirtier still. He slid down a coal chute and got the dirtiest of all. In fact, he changed from a white dog with black spots to a black dog with white spots. Although there were many other things to do, Harry began to wonder if his family had thought he had really run away. He felt tired and hungry too. So without stopping, he ran all the way back home. When Harry got to his house, he crawled through the fence and he was looking at the back door. One of the family members looked out and said, "There's a strange dog in the backyard. By the way, has anyone seen Harry?" When Harry heard this, he tried very hard to show them he was Harry. He started to do all his old clever tricks. He flip-flopped and he flop-flipped. He rolled over and played dead. He danced and he sang. He did these tricks over and over again, but everyone shook their heads and said, "Oh no, couldn't it be Harry?" Harry gave up and walked slowly toward the gate, but suddenly he stopped. He ran to a corner of the garden and started to dig ferociously. Soon he jumped away from the hole, barking short, happy barks. He found the scrubbing brush, and carrying it in his mouth, he ran into the house. Up the stairs he dashed, with the family following close behind. He jumped into the bathtub and sat up begging, with the scrubbing brush in his mouth, a trick he had certainly never done before. "This little doggy wants a bath," said the dad. "Why don't you two children give it to him?" Harry's bath was the soapiest one he had ever seen. It worked like magic. As soon as the children started to scrub, they began shouting, "Mommy, Daddy, look, look, come quick. It's Harry, it's Harry," they cried. Harry wagged his tail and was very, very happy. His family combed and brushed him lovingly, and he became once again a white dog with black spots. It was wonderful to be home. After dinner, Harry fell asleep in his favorite place, happily dreaming of how much fun it had been getting dirty. He slept so soundly, he didn't even feel the scrubbing brush he'd hidden under his pillow.
My favorite book as a child was called The Jolly Postman. It was a story about a postman who would deliver mail to different fairy tale characters, and each section had a little pull-out letter for them. My favorite subject in school was reading, and lastly, I chose an octopus because I'm 8 times as excited to be part of your school community this year. The story I'm going to read is called Uncle Bigfoot by George O'Connor. "Oh, look, a postcard from your Uncle Bernie," said Mom one day. "He's coming to visit for a while." "Uncle Bernie? Who's that?" I asked. "I think you're too young to remember him," said Mom. "Uncle Bernie? Sure didn't remember any Uncle Bernie." Later on, Dad and I got out the photo albums to see if we could find a picture of Uncle Bernie, but this was the only picture we could find. "Uncle Bernie's a little shy around cameras," said Dad. Just who was this Uncle Bernie, and why didn't he like to have his picture taken? Did he have something to hide? What was his secret? There was a lot of possible reasons. One day there was a knock at the door. And then I knew exactly why Uncle Bernie didn't like to have his picture taken. Uncle Bernie was a Bigfoot. Bigfoots are big, hairy monsters that live far, far away in the deep, deep woods. Nobody has ever taken a picture of one, but a few people have seen them. Luckily, my book had some drawings, so I knew what to look for. First off, Bigfoots are supposed to be very hairy. Uncle Bernie has hair everywhere. He's got hair here, here, and here, and here. Some in there. And here. There's some in there too. Not so much right here. But definitely all over here. What about his hair, Dad, huh? What about his hair? But Dad didn't think Uncle Bernie was a Bigfoot. Just wait until you get older. You'll be hairier too. Wait until I'm older. What does that mean? If my uncle's a Bigfoot, what does that make me? Come to think of it, Dad's pretty hairy too. It's not just that Bigfoots are hairy either. My book says Bigfoots have really big feet. And Uncle Bernie has really, really big feet. His feet are so big, they should be called yards. What about his feet, Mom, huh? What about his feet? But Mom didn't think that Uncle Bernie was a Bigfoot either. A lot of people have big feet. It doesn't mean that they are a Bigfoot. Mom had a point. A lot of people do have big feet. But the book says a bunch of other things about Bigfoots, like Bigfoots have big hands, and Bigfoots have big muscles, and Bigfoots have big appetites, and big bellies, and Uncle Bernie has all those things too, and the clothes he wears don't fit him right, just like he found them somewhere. And he never, ever, ever wears shoes. But my book also says that Bigfoots are mean and scary. That doesn't sound like Uncle Bernie. He just seems a little different. There are a lot of people around the world, and a lot of them have something a little different about them too. Maybe some people are just a little more different. Like my Uncle Bigfoot. Last Tuesday, Uncle Bernie had to go back home. We all miss him, but I'm not too sad. You see, today, we got a postcard from Scotland. It says my Aunt Nessie is coming to visit. I hope you guys enjoyed this story, and remember, believe what you want to believe and not what everybody else says. Thanks for listening.
That's all our readers for tonight. Tune in tomorrow to see the rest of Group 4.